Hey, hey, what is up, everybody? And to my live viewers, thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to be talking about a real estate market update for Fort Collins, Colorado. And for those that are watching this on replay, thank you for watching. Hopefully, this brings you some good value and some content. Now, it's my first time going live, so give me a break. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the studio. I don't do too much editing on a lot of my videos, but we do take a lot of and likes out of the place. So excuse me for that. But again, hopefully today is some good information for you guys to consider if and when you are looking at buying in Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. It's still a wild and crazy market. Honestly, we went under contract on a property yesterday. Super excited about it, but also I had another contract that did not go under. Did not go under, and I was actually kind of thinking of the two offers that we submitted 2 nights ago. Go under contract wasn't going to be the one. Did not go under contract was going to be the one that was accepted. Now, we had the right price, but unfortunately the wrong financing, and in the sense of it was a cash offer that we were competing against, close in 2 weeks, waived the appraisal, and ours was financed, close in 3 weeks post occupancy. So we're going to get into a lot of that. We're gonna get into a lot of that this afternoon. But first, let's start with some market statistics for the month of November. Median sales price was 560,000 versus $530,000 in October. Now, these are single-family detached homes in Fort Collins, so this does not take into consideration townhomes or condos. Price per square foot actually dipped a little bit to $227 per foot versus $229 a foot. Still, pretty much a pretty decent premium. I remember in 2013 when my wife and I started to look for a home here in Fort Collins, moving from Loveland back to Fort Collins. We only lived in Loveland for 9 months, but we just had to get back home. I told her some parameters. I said, all right, definitely go search, find a house. I want it to be at or under $100 per square foot. Now, that wasn't to suggest that there was a ton of $100 per square foot houses. Now, we also in Fort Collins take into consideration total square feet. A lot of places don't necessarily have basements, or a lot of places don't consider the basement part of their total square footage. We do, we differentiate finished, unfinished, above grade, below grade. But for the purposes that I'm talking about, as far as total price per square foot is including the basement. So in 2013, I told her, please find something for us that is under $100 a foot, and I'll go take a look at it. And we did, found a place. We still own that place today. It's a rental. We have phenomenal equity in it. So I'm glad we bought that. But fast forward 8 years, almost 9 years, and we are at $227 per square foot on the median house here in Fort Collins. Median days on market 34 versus 36 in October. So again, pretty much that's just telling you that as soon as a house is coming on the market, it is going under contract. Basically, a house takes about 21 to 30 days if it's a financed offer to close, to get through financing, the appraisal, inspection, all that good stuff. If you have a cash, kind of like I just mentioned, you can close a little bit quicker. 10, 12, 14 days pretty easily. You still have to get, I would suggest, still getting title work done and in the property insured. But 34, 36 days essentially says it's 4 or 5 days on the market, goes on a contract. At that point, we are still seeing a lot of multiple offer situations where people are asking for all offers due by X date and X time. So still very quick on the market. Right now, actually, we have about 85 homes on the market, so significantly less than 1 month's supply when you consider right around 200 or so houses sell every month. Now, over the last 2 weeks, we did have Thanksgiving, so we only had about 66 houses, 66 houses sold. We did have Thanksgiving and Black Friday that kind of put a little bit of a damper on the amount of houses sold, but They sold for on a median $570,000, and on average about 6,000. Oh, sorry, on average it was $10,000 from list to sales price, and then on a median from about 6,000 from list to sales price above list, or about 1.8% and 1.5% respectively. So you can absolutely expect homes to go over list. Honestly, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've kind of noticed it a little bit even tighter than it was. We kind of had this little dip where the market started to calm a little bit, seemed like it was cooling off, and then we just ramped right back up. And the last two houses that we submitted offers on yesterday, there was at least five on one, and at least, well, actually, we were only the only other offer on the other because we did get the contract in right away. So took advantage. Again, one of the things that I definitely hit on is if you are in the market to buy, make sure your buyer's agent, your representative, is calling the listing agent to get as much information as possible. You just don't know what situation that seller is or that listing agent, and you got to have the right information at hand to make these decisions. But let's jump into some of the things that are dictating this market. So for 2022, Fannie Mae is expecting about a 7.4% appreciation. Take that when in Fort Collins, since the 70s, we've seen about 5 to 5.5% appreciation annually. And over the last couple of years, we've seen double digits and into the 20s as far as home appreciation goes. So 7.4% seems, kind of like, man, what's going on? But that is still phenomenal when you talk historically. There's a lot of people who are talking about, a housing crash, economic, dip, recession, depression, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to say that it can't happen, but I can tell you that as we're going to talk about here in the the really close future, is supply on both materials and labor are not going to allow new construction to supply the homes that we really could use and have. So that being said, those people that are talking about this housing crash and economic dip for specifically housing because there's going to be this wave of foreclosures and these evictions that go on. Well, yeah, we have seen a huge increase in foreclosures and evictions over the last year because we couldn't do evictions or foreclosures last year. We had mortgage forbearance and anything and everything under the sun, an eviction ban where you could, if the tenants weren't paying, you couldn't evict them over the last 18 months. We really have just started to see, as of September of this year, the ability to go through eviction and foreclosure. But because of how much equity is going to be in homes, we probably won't see too many foreclosures. We'll see more potential quick sales and things of that nature that will take place of what we saw in 2008 in regards to foreclosures. But getting to supply issues, yeah, our lumber issues when we had 2020 shut down and our trade with Canada got basically crunched, and lumber jumped up to $1,200 per 1,000 linear feet. It's back down to, as of Q3, $675 per 1,000 linear square feet. So you'd expect your home prices for new construction to take a dip, but really, in reality, what's going on is but the lumber has reduced that cost. Other materials have increased. Appliances, trim, lighting, flooring, paint. We went to go and try to paint our kids' room. A couple of weeks ago. We have a new one. We have a new baby coming as of March of 2022. So we're going to move two of our kiddos into one room, and we're going to repaint the room, and we're going to do new accent colors. Well, the base color was not available for the foreseeable future. From my understanding, the weather, the storms, the shutdowns in Texas, which is a big producer, chemical plant for the base of that paint, cannot supply that. So, which is causing certain paints to not be available. So we just did kind of a basic gray paint, which is totally fine. But it's one thing or the other. One of the conversations I had recently with a good friend of mine who owns a car dealership here in town, I asked him, "How's it going? What is there to be expected here? What is to be expected here over the next year? Are we going to see your parking lot that is vacant, basically, of trucks and vehicles filled up?" And his response was, "No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be 2023 at the earliest that the inventory, the chips for the vehicles are going to be solved, and we're going to have the inventory that we need, that people want to buy homes." So across the board, there's just supply issues after supply issues. I heard a really great kind of analysis of what we could see. Yeah, the bays are full of ships, but that's just one stoplight out of seven. So even if we can get the ships into dock, unloaded into the warehouse, there's six more stoplights that are just as big of an issue, whether that's um, uh, space in warehouses, labor to clear them, truck drivers to take the materials. So it's not just one stop here and it's like, oh, let the floodgates open. There's so many different moving parts, and it just has shown what a dynamic economy and globalized world we truly live in, and how important maybe some bringing back some trades and manufacturing to the United States could be moving forward in the future. Obviously, that doesn't happen overnight. From my understanding, chip manufacturers take about 5 years to build those facilities. So yes, we're working on them, building on them, but they're so far out that yes, in the future they will absolutely be able to tide that demand, but not now and not in the foreseeable future. Um, Now, if you can't buy, rent, right? Well, what are we seeing with rents? Well, we are seeing inflation. A buddy of mine just posted an Instagram story that the transitory inflation, that word is going away, and he kind of laughed about it, which, it is something that you could see potential inflation over the next year, deflation after that. There's so many different discussions to be had. I am by no means an expert, but I can tell you that I can absolutely tell you that rent here locally has increased pretty dramatically. For a 4-bedroom in Fort Collins, that rental rate is going to be about $24.50 on average. So I mean, we're talking, pretty significant dollars here. I have a property that's rented as a 4-bedroom, 2-bath property in Midtown Fort Collins. It's only about 1,700 square feet, but my rent, and it's been the same for 2 years, is $1,900. So I can tell you, I have had increases as far as property taxes go, insurance goes, and materials for my when I ever have to go replace a window or flooring or paint a place. So I will increase those rents. And right now, what I'm seeing when I have the opportunity to raise those rents here come April or May, it could be right around that $2,400 mark. So we're talking a 25% increase in rent for those tenants that are paying $1,900 currently. We were going to be moving on from these tenants anyways. They've had an issue. We've had some communication issues. Now, I've been very, very fortunate throughout this entire ordeal with COVID and the shutdowns. A lot of my rentals and properties have done very, very well, and we treat our tenants with the utmost respect. So hopefully, you don't think oh, this greedy landlord guy. No, it's honestly, we are seeing expenses rise on our side of things, and we will have to offset those with increased rental rates to be able to afford operating that property and not let it go into disrepair and be a slumlord. So if you're thinking about renting versus buying, your rental rates have increased just as much. And so really the conversation is, what are you going to do? Are you going to go and compete on this market with 4, 5, 6 offers? Is the inventory going to be able to increase? New construction, obviously, the supply issues are not going away anytime soon. So there's so many different forces and pressures on this market. It is very difficult. The best thing that you can do yourself is to be pre-approved by a very, very strong lender. I would suggest not going through a Rocket Mortgage or anything that you can go and get it off the internet within 15 to 20 minutes. Connect with a local lender. From there, make sure that you're working with an agent wherever you are considering buying that has done a significant amount of deals. And the reason why I suggest that is because in years past, when the market has been pretty laid back, lax, easy, yeah, the abilities of a real estate agent probably, you want obviously don't want to work with, an idiot per se, but the majority of people work with a friend that might do one or two deals a year. Well, I can tell you that 100% this market is so dynamic. They need to know what is expected on a closing deadline. Appraisals, what is an appraisal gap? What are some numbers based off of the purchase price that makes sense for that appraisal gap? Inspections, are you working with somebody who's going to willingly give that inspection away? I 100% expect and suggest that when everybody gets an inspection, maybe limit those items on the inspection to health, safety, and structural. Now, those are just a few examples of the market that we are in Fort Collins, which, from my understanding, really is similar to the rest of the nation and what that market is. Now, hopefully, we see some kind of stabilization, not as much uh, price appreciation over the near future, but right now the demand is there. The home builders can't keep up with the supply. Rents are increasing. The market is still in fuego. Ultimately, the question that I would have for you, if you're considering whether it's buying or renting or just watching, is what makes sense for you and your family. What are your goals? And if you aren't really trying to be in a place for the next 3, 4, 5 years minimum, yeah, buying is probably a pretty risky ordeal. But if you are looking at be there for 3, 4, 5 years, take into consideration, what does $2,400, let's just say $2,500 by 5 years looks like? Well, that's $30,000 a year over 5 years, $150,000 going towards rent, which could potentially be going to owning a home, paying down principal, and gaining equity. Obviously, I'm a real estate agent here in Fort Collins, which, if you are looking at moving or relocating here to Northern Colorado, definitely feel free to give me a call, text, email, or direct message me. I'm doing a live stream here on Instagram as well. So appreciate everybody who's watched on the live stream, and definitely appreciate those that are watching it on the replay. Hopefully this video helped you understand the market here in Fort Collins a little bit better. Alrighty, guys, until next time, take care.